Irvin here, and today we are on the big screen. And when we're on the big screen, that means we are taking a big view and looking at the macro scale. So we're looking at Bitcoin through a course of years, not just a couple days or a couple months. And so as we go through this video, we're going to talk about a few key things that I'm just seeing here on the charts. By no means is this exactly going to happen, but when we see a correlation, they're just strong indicators of potential probability. So with that being said, let's strap in and take a look. So let's go ahead and start down here. So if we look down here, we're really starting and looking back at Bitcoin from about 2017. And if you can kind of see these lines here, so this descending line here, this ascending line here, this is what we call a triangle. And so you can see the smaller triangle here. And so one thing that's very interesting about these two triangles is so this is a macro, a larger triangle, and this is another iteration, just a smaller triangle, but it has very similar correlation as far as its touch points. And so as we can see, there's an A, B, C, D, E, then gets in a channel, and then it breaks out. Same thing here, A, B, C, D, E, in a channel. If you've been watching my other videos, we've been talking about this channel for the past week or so, and then breakout. And then so let's kind of dive in a little bit closer and take a look at this larger macro triangle. So in 2017, we had a cycle peak and a cycle top, parabola top, and we hit a large bear market. But nonetheless, there's the point A up to B, and then B comes all the way down. And as you can see, this lines up very, very shapely and formally, right? And so there's the touch points, 3 touch points. And so you have your D. Now, there is a little bit of differentiation between these triangles, but they're fairly close because D didn't go all the way to the top and touch the top here. But there's still, within triangles and comparisons, there is still room for deviation. And so here you have your downtrend down to E. And then so this one was kind of like a more of a chop sideways, a fake out, and then a severe dip, versus this one here was just severe dip. And then so what kind of makes this triangle different from the macro was this COVID situation, how it was just a severe downtrend capitulation. And so the funny thing is, what's very similar is what we've seen here. So if we want to make that a little bit easier to see. So this was kind of like a mini COVID. Here it's just like this straight capitulation down here at the end of January. So like I said, this is a smaller correlation to this larger triangle. And so now COVID being so severe, right, it took a little deviation, but nonetheless, it ended up coming back to regulation and evenness. And that's what I think, right? Because if you kind of take this channel and you just kind of keep it going to where it was previous, you kind of see the correlation between points. So here, touch point here, and it continued on to this triangle or this channel before it broke out. And so interesting enough, right, had the deviation but ended up in this triangle, and it played around with this 50-day moving average, and we'll focus on that here in a sec. But once we found that points to where we broke the macro triangle and then we broke the channel, we have a major uptrend. And then so this major uptrend is a wave 3, right, of a larger Elliott wave cycle. Now what we're embarking on is just a wave 5. So is it going to be this exponential? No. But nonetheless, it's going to be wave 5 of Elliott wave principle. And as we know, wave 5s are typically very, very bullish before we go into a bear market, right? And so there's a lot of opportunity from here, where we are now, to breaking out and then finishing a wave 5. And so let's kind of compare a little bit more. So as you see, here's this 50-day moving average. And as we kind of compare the two, right? So let's get them both in frame. So you have your 50-day moving average, and for the most part, Bitcoin is just bouncing on top. For the most part, had a wick down below it, but for the most part, bouncing on top. And same thing here, bouncing on top of this 50-day moving average. And then it broke it. And then for the majority of it, right? So the majority of its life during this time, it spins it below the 50-day moving average. A couple wicks above, but there's, just slight deviation, but for the most part below the 50-day moving average. And then capitulation. So sideways, then capitulation. This one was the exact opposite. So it came below the 50-day moving average. Capitulation first, and then sideways. But nonetheless, under the 50-day moving average. Now here, we break it, get above, then we bounce on top, and we stay on top for quite a bit of while. So same thing here, we get above, bounce on top, small deviation here, but then for the most part, still bounce on top, and we're there, right? So now from this D to E, here's like, one of the biggest differences, like here's kind of like the slow grind sideways but down, a little bit of a fake out, then capitulation. And this one, same thing, opposite, just straight capitulation first, then slow sideways. And the fake out is here. So fake out here, then capitulation. So fake out here, then capitulation, just on a smaller scale, right? And then it came up out of a severe capitulation, because mind you, this is a macro triangle. This is just a smaller iteration. So it came up, but then now it's in the channel. And so as you can see, we're below the 50-day, then you go above the 50-day moving average, then below, then above. Now we're here below again. Same thing here. So you start off below, go above the 50-day moving average in the channel, then below it, then above, then below. So if we are just keeping things even, and mind you, this is speculation, but there's a lot of correlation here. You see, now we get back to this bottom part of the channel, and we're just kind of tinkering around the bottom. Then we get above the 50-day moving average, and then we struggle for a little bit. We use that midline as resistance, come back down, then we break, then we straddle the top of that channel, and then there's the large breakout. So hypothetically, right, if we, same thing, kind of straddle the bottom, break that 50-day moving average, then we break the midline, then we kind of straddle this top, and then we break out. That would be pretty interesting. Now you may ask, okay, well, where do you get, oh, what's going on? Okay, here we go. Computer's bugging out for a second. So where do you get this line here, right? And so, because that kind of lines up evenly with the top. So your breakout is a lot of times fairly close to your deepest retracement, right? And then so for me, this is a parabola top. And then so my thing is like, okay, that closest top to where it breaks that 50-day moving average is where you kind of want to measure it from. So if we kind of measure it, and so we're going to go from this top to, this low here. So let's make a straight line. All right, let's get that straight. There we go. So make a straight line down. Boom. And so let's go ahead and drag it over to the breakout point. And something that is super, super compelling is that lines up pretty dang close, like really close, within 10%. And then so, hey, let's do something similar, right? So we take that point. So when we break that 50-day, we take it from the peak to the bottom of its deepest retracement. So this here, line that up. And I kind of played around with this line here because there's a fib retracement that's to this point, but same thing, we bring this to potential breakout. And this breakout is, a little subjective, right? But it could be here a little bit sooner. But I think there's going to be some time for us to kind of straddle that top of that channel. So we put it here. And, I'm seeing Bitcoin coming up to price of somewhere around $123,000 if we use the same methodology from the previous larger triangle. It's compelling. Now, I'm not saying this is exactly going to happen, but that would be interesting. And so one thing about crypto is nothing is the exact same, but a lot of things rhyme. So there's just a lot of correlation here, and we're just going to see how this plays out. And so let's do a fib retracement from this top to this bottom and see. So this was a major wave 3, so it's going to be the most parabolic and exponential. So this is definitely going to just outpace even the top of the fib retracement by like a lot. So as you can see, take the top from the bottom. And so it even outpaced, the 4.23 portion quite a bit. And then so for wave 5, which is not as bullish, but yet is still bullish, let's line that up just with the 2.6, right? And so let's bring that here. Take this top. And like I say, correlation is compelling. So take that to the bottom. And what do you know? This retracement lines up with 2.618. And that's typically, a lot of times what you'll see for a wave 5, And if it's a parabola top, and that's why I kind of have this box here, let's kind of shape that up. So a parabola top, we may see that 4.23, but I'm really not seeing it, to be honest. I'm saying somewhere between these levels here, 125K to around 160. That is what seems reasonable before we get a big blow off to a bear market. And so time-wise, if we kind of look at how long was this channel until the top, or let's just take the breakout portion to the top. This is a macro triangle, so we would assume that, hey, this will take longer than what we may experience now. But since this is a lengthened cycle here, I would say, and this, these retracements are taking long for within its time frame for a year. What I'm saying is, hey, we may see similar timing, right? So let's do date range from breakout to the top. That was 176 days. So we kind of take a look at a breakout somewhere, because you want to put things together, right? So here we're straddling, we may kind of battle this but come up top, but something about this month of June, July, that is a big catalyst. Ethereum 2.0, which is the merge that they've been trying to do and they've been working on for the past 4 years. That and maybe some other catalysts, there's some companies that just go ahead and throw in, some hedge funds that finally go ahead and realize that, Bitcoin is something that they could go ahead and have on their balance sheets. But also another thing here in September, is would kind of help us continue to stay bullish, is the clarity on regulation. So back here in February, March, the White House made a statement saying, hey, over the next 180 days, we want to do as much research on cryptocurrency and digital assets so we can formulate a plan, and we have 180 days to do so. Then we'll report back. Now, with their findings, if they say that Bitcoin and digital currencies could actually be innovative technology that's beneficial to the United States, which they kind of iterated to in the document, and what I may do here is try to, have that document attached here in this video, then that may be the catalyst to help us break out and then sustain that uptrend towards the end of the year. So let's say breakout is somewhere here with the merge, and they say, June, July area. So let's take that and go 174 days. So right here, split in the middle of this box. And so I'm leaving some wiggle room here, a couple months plus or minus, right? But just interesting timing, right? Like I said, this is all speculation. But end of the year, right? December, cycle top. If y'all remember, 2017, previous cycle top, time-wise. Take a look. Middle to end of December. Then hit a bear market. So, and this was a 4-year cycle, but I believe this next one is a lengthened cycle, and that's what we're seeing because everything's taking a little bit longer. So that's what I have for y'all. Pretty compelling to me. In no means am I predicting this exact thing will happen, but wouldn't that be something? Because these triangles are very similar, and there's just a lot of correlation between the triangles, the ABC portion, and then also the channel leading up to breakout. And so this is a macro look at Bitcoin, and we're going to continue to see how this plays out. But as you can see, we're continuing to get higher lows. A lot of people holding on to their Bitcoin, sitting right here about $40,000. So while we're at the bottom portion of this triangle, I still think it's a great opportunity to be dollar cost averaging into a lot of cryptocurrencies that are strong, you know, and then we can go ahead and ride them up to, you know, we'll see, to the top of this cycle, right? And so, for example, if take the price range, if you're holding Bitcoin, you're buying today, you may be looking at, you know, a nice 200% gain. But as we know, if Bitcoin is doing 200%, that means everything else is doing 5x, 10x, 15x, right? So like I said, great opportunity for what's to come. So yeah, I'll leave you guys with that. You kind of do your own speculation from this video, but you know, it looked pretty interesting to me. So I hope you guys are staying well, and I'll be looking forward to talking to you guys in the next video. Peace.